beauty. It was something everyone chased after, but no one could fully define. To some, long, shiny hair was beautiful. To others, a big, cheerful smile. Some wanted flawless skin. Others preferred colorful eyes. Whatever it was, beauty often became an obsession. It was no longer a choice, but almost a necessity. But the most important question was, what is true beauty? Jenny was lost in these thoughts without knowing the answer. She was only 12 years old. She had long brown hair and bright eyes. Many people told her she was beautiful, but whenever she looked in the mirror, she found a flaw, especially her nose. She thought it was too big, too prominent in the center of her face. Every morning, she stood in front of the mirror, examining her nose, lightly pressing it with her fingers to make it look smaller. But no matter how much she tried, it never changed. "I wish it were smaller," she murmured one morning, staring at her reflection. At that moment, the mirror's surface rippled like water. Jenny opened her eyes wide in shock and reached out to touch it. Before she could even scream, she was pulled into the mirror. When she opened her eyes, she found herself in a completely different place. She was surrounded by giant mirrors. Some stretched to the ground, while others floated in the sky. "Where am I?" she whispered. Just then, a deep but gentle voice was heard. "Welcome, Jenny. This is the reflecting world." Jenny turned around quickly. In front of her stood a tall woman wearing a silver cloak. Her eyes shimmered like enchanted mirrors carrying thousands of reflections. "I am the mirror keeper," the woman said. "Show those who come here the true meaning of beauty." Jenny looked around in astonishment. "But why am I here?" The mirror keeper smiled. "Because every day you look into the mirror and dislike yourself." "But maybe, Jenny, you don't actually know how to look into a mirror." Jenny frowned, not knowing how to look into a mirror. "How can that be?" The mirror keeper waved her hand gently. "Now, watch closely what I will show you." Jenny curiously approached the mirror. The mirror glowed, and an image appeared on its surface. First, a princess appeared, her face shining like gold, dressed in magnificent clothing. This girl was once the most beautiful in the kingdom. Her beauty was legendary, and everyone admired her. But she was never satisfied. Every time she looked in the mirror, she found something missing. And every time she sought a sorcerer to change her face, the image shifted. The princess looked different. Her face was now flawless, but her eyes were lifeless. With each change, she became more beautiful, but also lost more of herself. In the end, she turned into someone whose face was like a frozen mask, expressionless and empty. People admired her, but no one remembered her real face. She had become only what others wanted to see. The mirror keeper extended her hand toward a second mirror, and a new image appeared. This time, a breathtakingly beautiful queen stood there. Her skin was flawless, but something was strange. Her face looked almost unreal, as if carved from stone. "This is the Glass Queen," said the mirror keeper. She dedicated her soul to beauty, striving to be the most beautiful woman in the world. Every day she examined herself in mirrors, making deals with sorcerers to change even the smallest flaws. The more beautiful she became, the more people admired her. But one day, When she tried to touch herself, she realized her skin was cold and hard. Jenny shivered. What happened to her? She wanted to change so much that, in the end, she turned entirely into glass. Her beauty lasted forever, but she could no longer feel anything, not love, not happiness, not the warmth of a touch. People admired her from afar, but no one could get close, because even the slightest touch could shatter her into pieces. Jenny took a deep breath. The idea of a queen sacrificing everything for beauty, only to become a lonely statue, terrified her. The mirror keeper raised her hand again. This time, a princess appeared. She wore gold-embroidered dresses but looked unhappy. She constantly held a small mirror in her hands. This princess never looked at anything but her mirror, said the mirror keeper. Everyone told her she was beautiful, but she never believed it unless she saw it in her reflection. One day, she lost her mirror. The mirror image changed. The princess was desperately searching every corner of the palace, opening doors, digging through the ground. But she couldn't find it. And then what happened? Jenny asked. Without her mirror, she no longer knew who she was. She had always been used to seeing herself through others' eyes. One day, when she looked into a puddle, she thought she didn't look as perfect as she did in the mirror. And that day, she forgot who she was. She became so disconnected from herself that, in the end, she faded away like a forgotten dream. Jenny's eyes widened. So, if you only see yourself through a mirror, you can disappear. The mirror keeper nodded. If a person believes they exist only because of their appearance, they are doomed to forget themselves. The mirror rippled once more, and a new image appeared. This time, it showed a young woman dressed simply. Her face resembled the princess's original face, but her eyes were full of life. When she smiled, her whole face lit up. This girl was also beautiful, said the mirror keeper. But every time she looked in the mirror, she didn't focus on what she wanted to change. She saw what she loved. She remembered how her mother once said, "Your eyes shine like the moon." She noticed that her smile made others happy. She was beautiful not because she was perfect, but because she accepted herself as she was. Jenny examined the girl in the mirror more closely. There was warmth and authenticity in her face. She looked happy because she loved herself for who she was. Jenny looked back at the mirrors. These stories, they all meant something. If you obsessed over beauty like the glass queen, you would end up cold and alone. If you only saw yourself through others' eyes like the lost princess, you would forget who you were. The mirror keeper stepped closer to Jenny. "Now, I will show you one last mirror," she said, guiding her to a mirror. The reflection changed. This time, a young girl appeared. Her nose was like Jenny's, slightly big, but it gave her expression character. Her eyes were full of life, and when she smiled, her entire face glowed. "This girl is also beautiful," said the mirror keeper. But she admired her own smile rather than waiting for others to admire it. She saw her so-called flaws not as burdens, but as parts of her identity. And people loved her most for that. Jenny held her breath. The girl in the mirror looked familiar, because that girl was herself, but a version of herself who had learned to love herself. The mirror keeper spoke one last time. "Beauty is not just what you see in the mirror. You are not just your face. You are your laughter, your words, your love, your memories. True beauty begins when you love yourself as you are. Beauty shines not through the eyes of others, but through your own. Jenny closed her eyes, felt a gentle breeze, and suddenly found herself back in her room, standing before her mirror. But this time, something was different. For the first time, she looked at her reflection not with judgment, but with understanding. Her nose was a mark that made her uniquely her, and now she knew accepting yourself as you are was the most beautiful mirror in the world. And the truest reflections were not in glass, but in one's heart.